think was averaging a goal involvement under every 90 minutes he played, which is a very impressive return for him. And I think you can see, whether as a winger or a striker, I think that remains to be seen. It's a shame almost that he wasn't playing with France at the Olympics, but Bayern wanted to keep him on the books for pre-season, knowing that Harry Kane was going to be away for quite a while on holiday and with the England national team at the Euros. For people asking, where is Harry Kane, where is Leroy Sané? I'm seeing a lot of those questions. I can tell you there are a couple of players that haven't made the trip to South Korea. It's the players that were either working on their recovery from injury or those that made it deep into the summer tournaments, whether that be Euro 2024 or Copa America. Those players are Harry Kane, Alphonso Davies, Kingsley Coman, Dario Upamecano and Leroy Sané. And as a result, you will not see those players feature here in this open training session. And there's so much to like about his game in terms of his composure, his ability to handle the press. His physical stature for a young player already is impressive. He's got the same height as Alexander Pavlovic. If anything, he's a little bit stronger, seemingly. I just think this season might be a little too early. Alexander Pavlovic was a very special circumstance last season because, let's be honest, he wasn't going to break into the senior squad unless Bayern had all the injuries they had that needed them to call him up as a backup and a squad number. He then, of course, took the chance, really impressed, broke into the first team, and you've got to think it's going to be difficult to keep him out of that midfield this season. But to expect Javier Fernandez to kind of follow in those footsteps as a 17-year-old, I think might be a little too early. I have a feeling next season might be the season where he's thought of. If he continues his development, which again is not a foregone conclusion. As I said, I'm very impressed by him in the pre-season friendlies that we've seen, and I don't think I'm the only one that's had their eye caught by him either. But I think probably one of the most exciting prospects that Bayern have on their books right now. Kartik asking, where's Kingsley Coman? He is still on his holidays, still recovering from the injury that kept him out of Euro 2024 as well. So unfortunately has not made the trip to South Korea. But the hope is he won't miss much of the start of the season. Marie asking, who is my favourite player? Well, of the current team, Jamal Musiala, I think, hands down. If you're asking all time, I mean, Thomas Müller is someone that, he's a couple of years younger than me. I have literally watched his whole career. I can remember him coming off the bench under Louis van Gaal as an 18-year-old. And he is someone who has fascinated me as a footballer throughout his career. His impact on the German national team. He's created some wonderful World Cup memories, even though, you know, I am an Englishman, so if it's England against Germany in an international environment, it's always England that wins my heart. But of course, having lived in Germany for so long, having worked in German football for so long, I cannot help but have a soft spot for this German national team. And Thomas Müller is not your average footballer. You love the way he interacts with the press as well. Always got a little funny quippers in his locker, little joke here and there. Such an endearing character. But as I said, in terms of his ability on the pitch, as someone who wasn't the most technically gifted footballer, but a very hard worker, I can appreciate the fact that he just makes things happen that few other footballers can do. The way he interprets space, some of the touches he produces with those lanky legs of his, you got to love as well. But I mean, I've had so many Bayern players that I've had a soft spot for down the year. David Alaba is another one. I thought he was phenomenal. What a wonderful servant, wonderful player as well. I mean, you talk about players that got you off your seat. Arjen Robben, Frank Ribéry were exceptional for that. You know, Philipp Lahm, an incredible servant, just one of the steadiest players ever. And of course, you know, I can name players from further back in the past, and unfortunately I never had the joy of witnessing play for Bayern myself. You know, the likes of Lothar Matthäus, Franz Beckenbauer, you know, those are legendary names. But if you ask me who my favourite player is right now, it's Jamal Musiala, because I love what he does with the football, and he gets me up off my seat so often. But all time, I mean, my hat has to be tipped to Thomas Müller. He, for me, is the greatest of all time. He is the GOAT. Jamal Musiala, I mean, if he stays on the books and he follows in Müller's footsteps, you know, he could easily become the greatest of all time for me, but he's still too young for that. right now. Henry asking, when do Bayern and Tottenham play? They've got a double header coming up, Henry. The first is tomorrow in this stadium, the Seoul World Cup Stadium. And the second takes place on the 10th of August. It will be taking place in London. And that will not be the final pre-season friendly for Bayern this summer. The final one will come against the Austrian team WSG Tirol. That game will take place in Unterhaching on the 13th of August. And again, all of these games, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow on FC Bayern TV Plus with live and sometimes exclusive coverage. It is well worth the subscription price, I promise you. But of course, we'll have coverage of press conferences, post-match reactions, highlights as well on all of Bayern's channels as Konrad Laimer scores an eye-catching goal there, the man who was one of the stars of the show for Austria at Euro 2024. Unfortunately, a heartbreaking end in the round of 16 against Turkey when they thought, having topped the group of death, that they could make history by breaking beyond the round of 16 for the first time ever in the small nations history. Unfortunately, Turkey had other ideas. So again, Sarkodie, you're asking about a player that is not on the Bayern books, and as a result, I'm not allowed to talk about them. We do not talk about transfer speculation here. We only talk about done deals. The only done deals done this summer for Bayern. Nesri Irinkunda has joined from Adelaide United, although admittedly that deal I think was wrapped up back in January. It wasn't until this summer, though, he moved to Munich, having been left on the books at Adelaide United. Then, of course, we've got the two players brought in from the Premier League, João Paulinho from Fulham and Michael Olise, the French winger from Crystal Palace, and then Hiroki Ito from Stuttgart after an incredible season he had under former Bayern's reserve coach, Sebastian Hoeneß. And so I cannot comment on transfer speculation, and that is why, Sarkodie, I cannot answer your questions. Abiudi, hey James, what does it take for a youngster to get scouted by a big club like Bayern? Well, that is a very big question. Got to admit, difficult to tell because there's so many ways into the world of football right now, but really when it comes to Bayern, it'll be their network of youth academies that they have, not just in Germany, but around the world. Of course, you hope to get spotted by scouts every now and again too, but it is not an easy thing to do, breaking into the world of professional football. Ultimately, the sooner you can get into the Bayern Academy, the better your chances. JB268TV says, do you think Mathys Tel can be a world-class player in the future? Absolutely. Love what we see from the young Frenchman. I mean, of course, he made a name for himself being this big impact player off the bench last season. I think was averaging a goal involvement under every 90 minutes he played, which is a very impressive return for him. And I think you can see, whether as a winger or a striker, I think that remains to be seen. It's a shame almost that he wasn't playing with France at the Olympics, but Bayern wanted to keep him on the books for pre-season, knowing that Harry Kane was going to be away for quite a while on holiday and with the England national team at the Euros. For people asking, where is Harry Kane, where is Leroy Sané? I'm seeing a lot of those questions. I can tell you there are a couple of players that haven't made the trip to South Korea. It's the players that were either working on their recovery from injury or those that made it deep into the summer tournaments, whether that be Euro 2024 or Copa America. Those players are Harry Kane, Alphonso Davies, Kingsley Coman, Dario Upamecano and Leroy Sané. And as a result, you will not see those players feature here in this open training session. Wolf Gaming asking, what do you mean holiday? Yeah, football players have holiday as well, Wolf. You know, of course, we'd like them to be in the thick of the action at all time. But they do deserve a chance to recharge the batteries, spend some time with family and friends as well. And of course, these players went deep into their summer tournaments. That's why they're given the time off as well. Because ultimately, you want them coming back, even if not 100% physically fit, you want them coming back 100% mentally fit, and that was something that Vincent Kompany has been talking about as well. Marie, I appreciate the compliment. And it's hard not to enjoy Jamal Musiala as your favourite player right now, has to be said. Holy Lima, love that reaction to the Lima goal as well. Sorry, I'm a bit behind in the chat here, ladies and gentlemen. That's because I'm trying to answer all your wonderful questions that are being sent in, and I do really appreciate it. Love the interaction. And Marcus, I don't work at Zebenstrasse on a daily basis, but I pop down there every now and again. I'll be there tomorrow to commentate the game against Tottenham, albeit that game taking place in Seoul, South Korea. Marie asking, do I like the new Bayern kit? Well, I assume you mean the... Well, I guess, which kit are you talking about? Because they brought out a couple of new ones. Of course, the new home kit's not too shabby, but they've got a new third kit coming out too, which I have to say I like the look of. But then the away kit, I mean, it's got a little something different to it, so there's lots to like about each and every kit. I think my favourite, based on what we've seen, I don't think we have confirmation of what the third kit is going to be, but based on the rumours online, let's say, the third kit looks quite tasty. But I will say this, Marie, as a commentator, the home kit, the red kit, the three-tone red kit is a nightmare because it's so difficult to spot the numbers on the back of the kits. Now, I'm lucky enough that I know these Bayern players well enough, having commentated on year after year, that it's not so difficult for me to spot. But from a commentator's perspective, someone that maybe isn't as familiar with Bayern München might have a tough time recognizing which player is which. JB268TV once again getting in touch saying, do you think Paulinho is the player which we missed last season? Speaking of the holding six, look, he is a type of player that I think can plug a gap that maybe wasn't as naturally plugged last season. Do Bayern need a specialist holding six? Potentially, because it might unlock the prowess of the likes of Goretzka, Kimmich, Rafael Guerreiro, Alexander Pavlovic, who of course so proficient in the build-up play. João Paulinho, someone that thrives in breaking up the play on the opposite side of the ball. And so I think he's certainly going to make a big impact, Paulinho. Difficult to say if he was the missing piece. It's so difficult to say. Would João Paulinho, had he been on the books at Bayern last season, would Bayern have won a trophy? I don't know. It's so difficult to theorise and talk about hypotheticals like that, especially in the world of football. But do I think he's the type of player that will benefit Bayern? Absolutely. And really, I'm so interested to see what exactly Vincent Kompany is thinking when it comes to how he's going to play with this team. Is it with a three-man backline that offers an extra number and offers a bit more width? Will it be with the standard 4-2-3-1 formation with his own little stamp on it? It could go so many different ways. He's got so many different options at his disposal, and Paulinho is a player that could be a starting midfielder, but Konrad Laimer, Leon Goretzka, Joshua Kimmich, Alexander Pavlovic. I mean, take your pick. It's not easy to do between those players as to who's going to start that opening game against Ulm on the 16th of August and then that opening Bundesliga match against Wolfsburg on the 25th. I think, I mean, JB268TV asking what would be my lineup right now. Oh, so tough. I hate being put on the spot like this because it is so difficult. Can I be honest? Yeah, you know what? I am going to be honest. I'm going to tell you exactly who I'd pick. I'd pick Paulinho and I'd pick Konrad Laimer. That's assuming that Vincent Kompany has seen Paulinho fit in the way he wants him to, that he kind of suits the style of play that Kompany wants to play as well. If not, I'd maybe say Pavlovic and Laimer. Because I'm just such a big Konrad Laimer fan. I think I'd probably keep Kimmich at right back. But I could understand if Kompany wanted to bring him back into midfield. I mean, Sacha Boey has been playing at right back or right wing back in pre-season. And that might be the difference, actually, because Kimmich, I'm not sure I'd play him at right wing back, but I would play him at right back. Different demands, different things needed in that role. And so, yeah, these are the types of questions. I mean, I'm just so excited to find out because we're starting to see the idea and the vision for Vincent Kompany take shape. But ultimately, the clearest idea we'll get of it is when they take on Ulm or why they take on Wolfsburg